Hi family, welcome back to our YouTube channel. If today is the very first time of you visiting Agbonika YouTube channel, please do it to subscribe to the YouTube channel now, and the Lord bless you as you do so. So today we are going to do a movie review, and the title of the movie is Mother Múrdẹ by Zion. The movie was produced by Fakayode, directed by Tolulope Adegbo and Mayowa Fasoro. The movie is about three friends, Tony, Toba, and Teju, and Mrs. Múrdẹ. So the story is about Mrs. Múrdẹ, who have three children, Tony, Toba, and Teju. Tony is her own biological son. Mrs. Múrdẹ trained these three children as her own, love them, make sure they are fine, fed for them, and all of those things. And then when Mrs. Múrdẹ was celebrating her 60th birthday, on that day, Mrs. Múrdẹ was mother. The mother of Mrs. Múrdẹ becomes the bone of contention. Who will mother Mrs. Múrdẹ? Then Tony, Toba, or Teju? Then the investigation begins. Tony was the one who says he can't involve himself in the investigation because of emotional trauma and his mental instability. But Toba insists that Tony must lead the investigation, of whom mother Mrs. Múrdẹ. Then Tony was leading the investigation, and when they get to the room of Mrs. Múrdẹ, they saw an exhibit that could have been used for forensic investigation. But Toba in one way or the other, have to take the exhibit with a bare hand. And when forensic investigation result was out, it resulted that Toba's fingerprint was found, Tony's fingerprint was found. So they have to drop the investigation result because already the exhibit has been tampered with. Then Tony, in the process of investigation, his mental health started disturbing him. Whenever he remembers the death of his mother, it takes him to this emotional state that he don't want to be. So he have to take leave as advised by his wife. His wife have to advise him that okay, he should take leave and report to the headquarters, which is God, and pray about this issue. So the investigation have to be passed to Teju. Teju was the one leading the investigation now. In the process of the investigation, Teju discovered that Mrs. Múrdẹ had a health challenge, and he went to the doctor, and the only person that is aware of the health challenge was Tony. The forensic result shows that Tony's fingerprint was on the exhibit. Then when Teju merged this investigation reports together, you find out that the possible person that could have murdered Mrs. Múrdẹ is Tony. How could Tony do that? Arrest Tony for investigation, for questioning, and Toba have to advise Tony that he should run away. He should flee away from the work and never return. If not, this case is going to take him to where he has never planned for. Then he makes an escape route for Tony. Tony ran away with his wife. And Teju get furious that how could a murderer be free to run away from this case? Then Teju say he's not going to take it because a murderer cannot be wandering about. He must face the full consequence of killing Mrs. Múrdẹ. Toba have to advise him that no, Tony is our brother, we have to let him go, because if he faces the full consequence of murdering Mrs. Múrdẹ, what is our own gain of this story? What is our gain? He is our brother. Then Teju said no, that he's not going to allow Tony to go scot-free. On reaching home, he discovered that there was an attempt to rape his wife. Who could do that if not Tony? Then he went to Toba, they discussed it, started looking for Tony and all those things, making sure that the wife is fine. Then Tony's wife have to advise him that okay, are you guilty of this case? If you are not guilty, then let's go on. Let's go and face the case with full chest. Now we are here in no man's land. We don't know nobody. We are doing nothing here. Let's go back. So when Tony returned back to Teju's house, he was begging Teju that no, he wasn't the one that killed Mrs. Masue and there was no attempt to rape your wife. And Teju's wife also concurred to it that no, the man that attempted to rape me wasn't Tony. I know Tony well. If I see Tony, I will know. So in that process, Teju's wife says he used knife to cut the rapist, the attempted rapist, and left hand. And it occurs to Teju that in that period that his wife was almost raped, Toba was having a cut on his left hand, which he says that it was a minor accident. So when they prayed together as family, joined their hands together, prayed that the Lord should expose anyone that is involved in such acts, an attempt to rape and the killing of Mrs. Masue. So after the prayer, they went to the hospital where Toba picked a nurse that was treating him at home. They engaged the nurse and all of those things. Then they went to arrest Toba for attempt raping and the mother of Mrs. Masue. So when they engaged Toba now voiced out that he felt used and dumped by Mrs. Masue, narrating the story that he has been having an affair with Mrs. Masue for a while, and Mrs. Masue promised him to give him anything he wants, and it was working out for him until a day that Mrs. Masue was making a call inside where Toba was outside eavesdropping, and the call was that Tony should be elevated to a position which is vacant instead of Toba, and Toba felt used and dumb, so he had to kill Mrs. Masue. And since Teju wasn't ready to let Masue go, to let the sleeping dog lie, he wanted to rape the dearest thing to Teju. So that was how Toba was arrested. Eventually, Tony gets to the position which they kill Mrs. Masue for. What are the lessons in the movie? Now, the lessons in the movie are these. 1. Don't engage in any immoral acts, because that was what even caused everything. If there was no immoral acts with Toba, there will not be any promise. If there is no promises, there will not be jealousy and envy, which will lead to the death of Mrs. Masue. That is one. Secondly, keep information that are dear to you to yourself. Don't give out unnecessary information. Giving out unnecessary information, that was what even makes Toba to know what it was dearest to Tony, what was dearest to Teju, and he started all of these things. Please do well to go and watch the movie on Femi Fakayode YouTube channel. Thank you so much, Zion Home Drama, for that movie. That movie is very powerful. The twist is so beautiful. Please do well to go and watch the movie, and you will like it yourself. Thank you so much. We love you, and don't forget to subscribe to Agbonika YouTube channel. God bless you.